And we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Hello and welcome. He's Andy Billman. I'm Jared Watson, and this podcast is brought to you by Waiting for Next Year. Check them out, original Cleveland sports reporting at waitingfornextyear.com. Also coming soon to Evergreen Podcasts. If you love Baker Mayfield banter, well, it's been quite a week for you and for Baker. A lot of debate and instant analysis on Baker Mayfield from across the country. Everyone's talking about him. Not in the best ways either all the time. Also, should Baker be playing with his current injury? And let's add that to Odell being pissed off. And, oh, yeah, Jarvis Landry doing what he always does, busting his ass, playing with broken ribs. Anyone surprised by that? I'm not, but I do hope he's okay. What a fun week in Berea. Yay. No. And then to help here, the Buckeyes are back, brother. The Buckeyes are back, getting ready to play Nebraska. I'm fired up about that. That should cheer us up, Browns fans, if you're also an Ohio State fan, which many of you are.
Boilermakers, Rondell Moore.
Okay, sure.
Look out, Hawkeyes.
So that's going to help. We'll do a Buckeyes preview. But first, you're very, well, I was going to come up with some sort of adjective, but I don't have one. You're 4-2 Browns.
The quote machine Browns. This is the week for the first time we have gone back into the vortex of, if you turn on First Take, you turn on whatever that show is called on Fox 1, you turn on anything in the middle of the day, Mike Greenberg, Baker Mayfield, we think about it as Dan Orlovsky. What do you think about Baker Mayfield? What do you think about Baker Mayfield? What do you think about Baker Mayfield? The Baker Mayfield storyline and machine is at full go. We are in hyperdrive. You better fucking believe we're going to talk about that on Cleveland and Beyond. And to be honest with you, the opinions, obviously, I don't agree with all of them. I know probably Jared doesn't either, for sure. But I do think the narrative is appropriate. This is a big story. Baker Mayfield at the end of 2018 was thought to be the savior for our Browns. And right now, that is really in question. So for people out there who are sick of the Baker Mayfield story, I can understand it. I do think it's appropriate. I think it's a very interesting topic. And again, it reminds me of Lindor being traded. I think these topics are fair and accurate. The other big thing this week to me, Jared, before we get into Mayfield land, is this is the first time all year we've really heard from the players. This felt like a Freddie Kitchens week. You heard from Odell. I actually listened this morning to Kareem Hunt. A lot of players going through the turmoil of press conferences and being quoted in press. Van Pelt had a very spirited press conference this week. So, Jared, for the first time, I'm not saying we're falling back to the Kitchens, because I don't think that. But this is the first time, Jared, I felt like, wow, like we are back. The 1-0 mantra is there. They're saying it, but it doesn't feel like 1-0 mantra during the week. This has been a lot of banter from the Browns this week. A lot of banter.
Well, you can do two things with that. You can collapse and fold and fall on top of yourself, over on top of yourself in Cincinnati, right, which is in play. Or you can be led by a coach like Stefanski, who will hopefully help them to channel all of this into taking it all out on Cincinnati this Sunday. I hope that the latter is what we're looking at. I hope that they go into Cincinnati focused and ready to take it out on the Bengals. I hope that they go in there to not only show everyone else, but themselves that, hey, this isn't just going to fall apart. This isn't like every other Browns team. Now, I get it. Odell is pissed for the same reasons that I'm pissed. Can we beat the teams that we absolutely need to start beating if we are going to take that next step? But what I will say is this. They have already taken the steps necessary to get to 4-2. So it's hard for me to really be overly concerned yet when we've got to do one thing at a time, one foot in front of the other. I think they've done that. And they have an opportunity to then beat those teams on the back end of the season and improve over time. If we want to circle back to Baker, boy, oh boy, there's your issue. We don't know right now. I don't know if Baker's going to be the guy. I got to say it. But do I want to say what Stephen A. said? Am I trying to get Odell and Jarvis Landry out of Cleveland as far as they can go and throwing it? No. Listen, I don't need the theatrics. All right, Steven, you're very good at what you do. You're very good. You're very talented. But if anyone watches Stephen A. Smith and gets sucked into the theatrics, you have to realize it's all a show. It's all a show. It's entertainment. It is sports entertainment. So let's calm down on the talk of getting those guys to run out of town after a terrible game against the Steelers.
Well, that's the kind of crap that I do disagree with Stephen A. Smith.
Right.
I thought what he said was really wrong and was just creating headlines and stir, was what you just said. It is what you just said. You're right. And here's my bigger thing with stuff like that. It's wrong. Landry and Odell Beckham, actually, the biggest difference, here's why he's so wrong. Last year, I would not have agreed with it either, but I would have heard it because I saw fraction. I saw friction. The one thing I was going to allude to, even going through all these press conferences, though, everyone's still aligned to me. I'm not seeing the islands. I'm not seeing Baker's group. I'm not seeing Landry and Odell's group. I'm not seeing like the defense splitting up, and I can feel that. The only thing that I will say about this, which we're going to have to digest it after the Bengals game, because it's hard to determine whether this is good or bad yet, obviously, as we don't know the outcome. But the one thing that's very true and very clear, not only were Jared Watson, myself, Holly Wetzel, other Browns fans pissed about the Steelers' loss, the Browns were pissed because Odell Beckham was frustrated this week. You can hear the underlying tone from Baker Mayfield being frustrated this week. You got that from Hunt, and you certainly got that from Jarvis even a little bit, and you certainly got that from Van Pelt. I thought Van Pelt had a spirited press conference this week. So the Browns were pissed. Now let's get to the headliner here in Mayfield. Mayfield, again, I'm repeating myself, but I'll say it again. To me, the bigger conversation with Mayfield is, and there's actually now a new storyline too about his injury, but let's get to the big one. It's not about Keenum and Mayfield. It's about, will Mayfield be the quarterback 2021 and beyond? And I'll say it again. I don't think you're going to even know that after the Bengals game. I think it's going to take you all 10 games, especially those 2 games later in the year. Even if the Browns lose, I don't think that's going to determine this thing. I think they're going to need him to play it out and see. Now that's going to really ding him, but I don't think it's going to be the final straw. The one thing though about Mayfield that he is definitely feeling, and you can see it right now, Mayfield is fighting through his career in Cleveland. And we kind of said that already after the Baltimore loss, and he had to get that back against the Bengals. It almost feels like, again, I really don't think it's a must win for this team. But if he wins, a lot of this pressure, like taking something out and getting the infection out, does take a lot of this pressure off again, Jared. It really, really, really does.
I mean, going to 5-2 is always going to be a good thing. 5-2 is a beautiful record, right? 5-2, right. 4-3, you're teetering, and 4-3, teetering on a game that you should win, Andy.
Rookie quarterback,
a game that you should win.
Better team.
So, but the problem is, we're going into this game, and the Browns are only a 3-point favorite in Cincinnati.
I was going to bring that up. And by the way, that line has gone down. It was at 4.5 earlier in the week. So there's a lot of money going on to Bengals in this game.
And a lot of that has to do with the fact that the Bengals put up points last week.
Yep.
So
Burrow's a good quarterback. Burrow can play.
Yeah.
Burrow can play.
And this is going to come down to also that defensive line being able to put that pressure on Burrow and make him make the rookie mistakes, and for Myles Garrett to get a couple of sacks.
See, I was going to actually say in this game, the hidden secret to me is not the offense. I think the offense will score. I think the offense will do its thing.
Right.
Can the defense do enough to slow down the yards after the catch and keep Burrow contained?
Right.
And by the way, it just isn't a Browns thing. He did a nice job. Burrow played well against the Colts. So it's not just a Browns thing. I mean, Burrow can play. I'm telling you, Burrow can play. So that's a bigger question here. Let's get. I want to swing this back to Mayfield, though.
Yeah, so do I, because I have an issue with always hearing Baker talk about how he turns off the noise. He doesn't hear what's going on in the media. Yet he always has something snarky to say regarding. It's like, if you're not paying attention, then how come you got the little digs ready all the time? All the time. This stuff mentally affects him more than he admits. You can see it. You can see it. So there's still some maturity there that he needs to have, a little bit more emotional intelligence, and understand that this stuff does suck, that he doesn't like hearing that people think that he's going to turn out to be terrible. I don't know that he's recognized that. I don't know that he's recognized that it matters to him more than he wants to admit.
I think Baker's going through a huge transition. And that's why I'm saying, like, he is fighting for his career in Cleveland, not in the NFL, through Cleveland. And I think that's why he's having comments like, quote, "I don't give a damn what they say. Yeah. They get paid to talk. We get paid to do our work," end quote. Now, that's a good for Baker Mayfield. Last year, it would have been more of a paragraph. So this year to only have one sentence is true. But this is the line that I really took in, and I didn't mind it. I actually liked it. This is the quote, though, that got to me. Quote, "The feeling throughout our building after that loss, 4-2, has never felt so much like 0-6 before. That's because we have very high expectations for ourselves," end quote. I thought that quote rang a lot stronger to me. The first one was like, he doesn't like it. He is paying. I agree with Jared. He is paying attention to it. He looks drained. He looks very, very. I will also say, though, he looks very focused, and I'm hoping that focus comes out into play on the field. I think Mayfield is very, very aware of what's going on, and I do think that's good. He is not shying away from, I have a lot of pressure on me. I know I have to step up and play well, but as we're learning, that does not mean it's going to happen. But I will say, from my perspective, I think Mayfield's very aware of this week in this game. Very well. And I think he's feeling the pressure. I mean, you can see it in his face.
I cannot stop thinking about my issue with him having trouble going through his reads and wondering how much trouble he's having seeing the field. There's just the fact that he holds onto the ball as long as he does. And that's something that also blows my mind, is that, yes, he was pressured a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yep.
And he was hit. So, I mean, I get that. But at the same time, when you start to look at the fact that he had the ball longer than any quarterback in the NFL last Sunday, you start to realize that he put that stuff on himself, because he's not going through his progressions, because he's getting skittish in the pocket again. He made some of the worst throws I've seen him make the entire season. So, Andy, I can't. This stuff's got to stop.
No, it does.
He did mistakes because he's done this, and he's repeating his mistakes, and that is what's starting to get frustrating.
No, it did. I'm going to bring up Marissa McCool's note here. Marissa McCool on Facebook: "The heat on Mayfield, despite the winning record, feels reminiscent of Hoyer. I think we're so starved for a consistent team that every week feels much more to do or die than most teams on a weekly basis." I'll say this, Marissa. I actually think Mayfield is different because the Browns are actually ready to win. Hoyer, that whole experience, and that's a fair comparison. That was surprising. I didn't think the Browns were going to be 7-4 after that Thursday night win. This, or whatever it was, 6-3 or whatever it was back in Hoyer's year. This team, though, even going into last year, yes, it's been weird because we thought going into the season the Browns weren't going to be as great because of what was going on, but now they've been playing well. But honestly, the one thing about this team, though, a lot of nameplate talent and a lot of talent in good positions, and this isn't they aren't like older veterans. These guys are ready to win now. The one thing that's consistent from everyone that I love, Hunt, I'm just here to win. Odell, I'm just here to win. Landry, I'm just here to win. Baker, I'm just here to win. And that is a great mantra. And I will say that is not what we heard last year or years prior. So that mantra of the drumbeat is there. And that's why I'm saying I don't see friction. I'm not seeing fractures. But to what you're saying on Mayfield, is it do or die? Well, right now it is for him. And it's because he's not playing well. And it's because Nick Chubb's out. And he needs to do things to lift this team. And he does not have half-ass wide receivers. He's got very, very good talent around him. Hooper's good too. So he has weapons around him. He has to use them. It's a lot of pressure, but the pressure is fair because he's the number 1 overall draft pick. He has wanted the spotlight. So the spotlight is now on him. And now it's time for him to perform. And you can't do a Hulu commercial. You got to go out there and throw touchdowns.
Well, and the other issue is, Andy, when we stop talking about how poorly the secondary and the defense can be at times, and we're focused on Baker, that's just not a good thing. That's just not a good thing. This should not be what we're talking about right now. We should not be in a position where we have to sit here and talk about the issues that Baker is having at quarterback, and he is just having them, period. The numbers tell it all.
Well, Jared, and something else I want to get into too. It goes deeper than that. Mayfield's dinged up. And there was an interesting comment on Bull and Fox that I found that I want to talk about real quick. This is Spiro DDs, who's I actually like Spiro. He does a good job on CBS. I enjoy him. I'm glad to hear he's doing the game this week.
Yeah.
He said this quote. I guess he talked to I guess he got some vibe or talked to Mayfield. Quote, to be honest, this is from Spiro. Quote, to be honest, it's not better, but it's just something I'm going to have to deal with, talking about Baker and his ribs, and it's bothering him to follow through. And this is where this situation is tricky because Baker wants to play. And we're all talking about all this different stuff, and Baker's hurt. So that's why, Jared, I think the story is even bigger, and it is what it is, because there's this whole outlier of how hurt is he? He's denying he's hurt. They're saying he's ready to play. So you got to figure he's ready to play. And then you hear reports like this yesterday. And by the way, this is typical sports. I'm not saying this isn't that unusual.
I mean, Stefanski said he feels way better than he did the week prior, right? I mean, that was all right. So. Listen, let me ask you this. Case Keenum comes in and throws, against Cincinnati. What are we okay with that? I mean, why not take that week? He's got that week, and then he can go in and have another bye.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Why not? Why not? This is a game where you could do that. Now, granted, it makes it more difficult because you just had your ass handed to you in Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. So it does make it more difficult to make that call. Mm-hmm. But if you're talking about the long term, if you're talking about being ready to win down the wire when you're starting to put playoffs in contention, then why not do that now? Why not do that now?
No. Look, I'm with you on this whole thing of there's two prongs to this. The Browns, here's the other point too to what Marissa was asking earlier. The Browns are actually in win now mode because they have a chance to make the playoffs. They're always in win now mode. It's professional sports, but for someone like they got to start winning now. And the other big thing is to what you're saying, the Browns are at a point where Keenum versus Steelers is scary. If we're all being fair and honest, if Brave Mayfield is hurt and he can't follow through, getting him healthy for that down stretch is much bigger right now than playing a Bengals game on a Sunday because those games later in the year are huge. And I agree with Jared. If he could use that week and a half and it could help a lot, that's something they should really consider.
I mean, Marissa says the same thing on Facebook again. As someone from Minneapolis who watched Case play in that system, I'm at the very least not scared of what would happen if he came in. Yeah,
I agree. Good point, Marissa. I completely agree, and that's a nice thing here. By the way, Philip Cords, who I love, Philip. Yeah, great banter with him. By the way, I'm sorry to hear you're laid off, Phil. Hopefully,
I was waiting for the right moment to put that one up there.
Yeah, Phil, I know.
He said there's some pluses to being laid off right now. So
we love you. We love you, buddy. I hope you get a job, man. I'm sorry to hear that. I know it's been
or don't get a job. Relax a little bit. Kind of figure out what you want to do.
And by the way, give us stars, give us thumbs. We all love all that shit. Look. Going back to this game itself, though, this Mayfield banter, again, I think we've hammered it on the last podcast, so we won't go down the road. We all know this game, and all these games are going to impact that decision. Right. But all this is fair. And again, I want to repeat one thing. The Baker that I am seeing, though, in these press conferences is feeling the stress, is feeling the pressure. Here's the great news. I want to give a positive spin. If he does win, and he keeps winning, it's very good because he has a lot of pressure on him. And it's going to make him a better quarterback in bigger spots and later in the year and in playoff spots. And I want to say that again. The pressure he's feeling is good because it's going to make, if he can do this and he is as good as we thought he was at the end of 18, he will rise up and this will make him stronger. So far, that litmus test has told us it's not going to happen, sadly. But if you want to pause, I can't state this enough. In life, sometimes you don't have opportunities to succeed because you fail and you get fired or you fail and something else happens. In Baker's case, he has 10 games, 10, including one big one on Sunday again, and an interdivisional game. So he has opportunities to do this. He's lucky. And again, I give Baker this one credit for everything this week. You can tell by his facial expressions and by his tone, he realizes what's in front of him. And he knows how serious this is. He gets it. It's a big deal. It's a big deal.
I have to tell you that after last season and after 6 games of this season, that we are really getting to the point, at least for me, where I'm going to bring up my old favorite saying there. When somebody shows you who they are, believe them. And on the field, Baker has shown us who he is. And I'm really starting to accept the fact that this is just not working.
No, agreed.
I hate to say it. I
agree.
I don't say it with any sort of malice or with any sort of delight. But at this point, I don't have expectations of anything more than hoping he protects the ball and hoping he gets rid of the ball. If those two things happen, that in itself would be a step forward from this week after last week. I don't know what else to. I don't expect him to go out there and sling it. I don't expect them to go out there and have himself a game. I mean, he had a great first half with the Colts, but then he didn't even play a complete game that game.
The one thing I will say again as a positive, he reminds me a lot of Brett Favre. And Favre had games like that against the Vikings. He had games like that where he shit the bed. And Baker shit the bed last week. He had games like that too in his career. And his stats are up there with those similar guys. So let's hope that he continues through. Now, here's my new favorite guy. I like Odell. I love his energy this week.
So do I.
His quote, I'm pissed. At this point, I don't really care to keep trying to make myself look like a good guy to the world and all that shit. Tired of losing good teams, end quote. I give Odell a mental high five. I love this. This is what we've all been feeling this week. This is what all I've been saying. He for the first time, this is why I'm very excited about this. He talks like at times we're being fair, it's been more individualistic. This is not. When he's saying he means we. He goes, and I know what he's saying here. He goes, I don't like this. I'm not happy. I don't think this is cool. I give Beckham a lot of credit. I love that quote. I thought it set the tone of I'm tired of this shit.
Well, and you can see even by his actions on the sidelines when he was pulling those guys together. He pulled the wide receivers together at one point during the game. He's getting into people's asses. And again, we can do this game again too and touch on the fact that when Tom Brady does it, it's a little bit different. It's received a little bit differently.
I agree. It's like bat flipping. Remember I told you, I'm like, no one cares if Jim Tomey bat flips. Lindor bat flips, everybody's got an opinion. And I'm not trying to make it a racial issue, but here's what I will say. We've said this in this podcast way too much. Odell gets picked on for whatever reason way too much. Way too much. This week, he's done nothing wrong. I want to repeat. Odell Beckham Jr., his quotes have done nothing wrong. They've been appropriate.
And
on the mark.
And he's lucky if he gets one of the 15 calls that he should get a game too. So
yeah, the bigger thing here too, before we go down the road, and I see Philip's other comment, because I think this is a big thing. I do want to touch upon real quick. We're going to go back to Baker. Can't believe it. Philip on Facebook. Remember, I'm not a Baker guy. Just hope he figures it out. And Philip, to your comment, I just want to go down a deeper road because I know what he means by that. Or I think he does, but I'm going to interpret it as this. There's way too many people in Browns fandom who says if you don't think or you don't like Baker, you don't like the Browns, you don't like Baker Mayfield. That's not what we're saying here.
Right.
I kind of know what Philip's alluding to here. It's like, I do too. I hope he figures it out. That's why I'm trying to give hope. That's why I'm trying to see some positive things. If you held a gun to my head in Vegas, do I think he is the franchise leading quarterback down the road? I grit my teeth and whisper no. But do I think he can manage through the season and take the Browns through the playoffs? Yes. Does that mean he could be here for the long term? I don't know. These 10 games are everything. And that's what makes this fun. That's what makes it fun. And that is why this year it's been, in a way, all this stuff around it, playoffs, no playoffs, it's made this year fun because we're going to actually know what's ahead.
Yeah.
And I hope it's not draft picks.
But that's the thing. The problem is, Andy, if it is draft picks, you've got a team, as you said, offensively with big
nameplates
that are ready to win. And now you are going to set them back 3 years.
I know. And this team can't do that. This team is ready to win. And you got Myles Garrett on defense. The other thing, Myles Garrett is a superstar. We're trying to get to him in a second.
So Baker has to work out, or we are going to be miserable.
It's going to be fucking lonely. It's fun now. It could be really lonely in December.
It could settle for mediocrity then.
I'm not. I don't want that.
I mean, look, that's my point. Is if Baker doesn't take the next step, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Are you going to keep them and just hope you can squeak out 9 and 7 every year?
By the way, how about this?
Or are you going to draft and waste everyone's time?
How about this? The Browns go 10-6. They make the playoffs. Don't be surprised in this podcast. I say, I thought Baker did a good job, but I think they should draft a quarterback still. First, second, third.
Look, if it's going to be for development over the next couple of years, and all right, I guess
you know what I mean?
There is a way that they can do it and get away with it, but
that's my point.
At the same time, it's just frustrating because, well, we can also bring this up too. If they go 10-6, I think that the winning record that the Browns could end up with at the end of the season really just shows some of the increased disparities in talent between certain teams. There are certain teams that are gonna. It just feels like there's enough separation there in talent that the Browns can pull away with more of those wins, where in other seasons it's a little bit tighter.
I actually will say this, and you're right to a point. I think we've started to know who are the shit show organizations and who has their shit together.
Yeah,
because
Dallas
is a shit show. When you have COVID, Giants are a shit show. Jets are a shit show. Those, and honestly, if this was Freddie Kitchens or Hugh Jackson going into this year, the Browns would go 3-13, 2-14.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's Stefanski is a good coach, and they have some good parts. And Andrew Berry and Dee Podesta have done a nice job. They really have. Not even a nice job, a good job. They really have. Landry's been playing in broken ribs. I can't state this enough. He's the heart and soul of this team. For people who need a pick-me-up, I would listen to his press conference. I love listening to Landry. I just love his energy. Big fan. Quote, "It hurts, but depending on the play, whatever, at times it's bearable. We've done a good job making sure I get a little protection here and there throughout the week," end quote. Landry really speaks to the passion, and that's why, again, I can't say enough.
Have you ever had broken ribs?
Buddy, I don't play sports.
People can't. Well, even without... You can't even get comfortable to go to sleep with broken ribs, and this man's out there playing football.
He's a tough SOB.
God bless.
Speaking about tough SOBs, Harrison's out of protocol. That's great news. He sounds like he's going to play this week. Carl Joseph sounds like a maybe. Phillips and Teller, I don't think you're going to see either one. They're out. Sendejo popped up this week. Looks like he's limited. We'll see. But the bigger, I know, poor Sendejo. All you can do is kind of chuckle. Richardson, though, was the big injury. Sheldon Richardson, out of nowhere on Thursday, was on a bike. It's not a torn Achilles. It is just an Achilles injury. Thank God. I know when I said Achilles, I'm like Achilles. But you get the vibe he's going to be okay and play, but that they need Richardson because they have suddenly gotten thin. Larry Ogunjobi, who's now healthy, but he's been having some issues here and there. They don't have the depth of tackle they once did at the beginning of the year. Yeah. So Richardson not being there is a big deal. Remember, this is Joe Mixon. And Mixon, and by the way, I don't want to go too far down. I don't give a fuck about the Bengals. If you're the Bengals, I know you have Joe Burrow. I would hand off the ball quite a bit to Mixon. I'm just saying. And they won't. That Zach Taylor doesn't do it. He's a terrible coach.
Fine by me.
By the way, keep throwing the fucking ball. And Joe's really good.
Fine by me.
And by the way, you get encouraged by Joe, so I get it. But those are the injuries this week. My partner alluded to it. They're only 3-point favorites. The Browns are on the road, which for people who don't know in Vegas, you always give the home team 3. So that basically is saying the Browns and Bengals game is even. The quick totals, even with Joe Burrow, the offense is still 25th. They did play much better against the Colts, though. The defense is rotten. They're bad. They're 25th overall. They're almost in the bottom 5 in rushing. They're 27th, so they're almost in the bottom 5. So it's a bad rushing team. The Browns should be able to bounce back. Offensive line, Kareem Hunt, Dearness Johnson. The running game should be able to bounce back this week, Jared. You should be able to get that bounce back. Keep that in mind. Now, the defense, real quickly. Myles Garrett has done a lot of wonderful things. He is on his way to being defensive MVP. If you can get Harrison back and you can get enough out of these players who are running around, and hopefully Mac Wilson he was on camera this week, so hopefully he gets a little bit more of his feeling. You haven't felt Mac Wilson all year.
No, not at all.
And you hope that you feel him in this game. Here's my quick prediction. I think the Browns win. I just think because there's too much talent, and I get the funny feeling Baker's going to actually play well this week. I can't put my finger on it, But I just think that knowing he's always played well against the Bengals, even on the road, he's played well against Cincinnati. Even in a loss last year, he had a couple of bad throws, but he played pretty well overall. And for whatever reason, and this is more in the Bengals, from what I can tell from Taylor, he's not going to hand the ball off. And so if they're not going to do that, I know the Browns will do enough to win. I think the score is in the high 20s, low 30s. So something like 31-28 Browns is what I'm seeing. I really think the line is right there. I think 3 is right at the line. And I think the Browns win.
I'm going to go ahead and say Browns win as well. And I think they do it a little bit, just a touch better, a touch easier than your prediction. And I'm looking more at 35-24.
Yep. And so Philip Cords agrees with you. He's got 38-21. And that's the week. So we'll obviously break it down Sunday night and see how the Browns do. Again, a lot of people saying it's a must game. I don't know if I agree with that, but we'll see. Philip on Facebook, who's becoming a fan favorite. I love Philip's energy. He talked about Romeo Cornell. The lineup for poor Romeo. Poor Romeo. Such a nice man, just not a good head coach. Nice man, though. Nice man. It's not a good head coach. This week's games to me, including what we're going to get to next in the college football, very good slate of games. I love this slate. If for people who want to know what to watch afterwards, Niners at Patriots is a big game. Patriots need that game. They're 2-3. So that's a good game to watch. If I were sitting back and if we weren't Browns fans, the Steelers-Titans game is wonderful. I mean, that is a wonderful 5-0. Great game there. And then you got the Sunday night game, which is Cardinals Seahawks. Love that game. That's in Arizona too. And then Bears and Rams. Another great slate of games. Just a lot of fun games this week. For people who know, I love to pick games. Andy's Candies on Best Fridays Football has been fucking awful. 3-11. Ugh, but here we go. We're gonna pick some winners. We'll get to that in a later show. But anyways, I love the Bills this week. You're gonna give away 12. I would still take the Bills. Titans are only giving up 1. I get the funny feeling the Steelers are going to feel like champions and get the shit kicked out of them. I think the Steelers are just going to mow them over. Might be angry Browns fan reaction, but I just think the Titans. I love.
I want to have that feeling, but I'm not going to express it because as soon as I do, karma and the way the world works, the Steelers will end up winning. So,
and if you want a weird road dog, take the Jaguars at 7.5. And don't. It's just because the Chargers are not good. And both those teams are not good, but I see that. I don't see the Jaguars winning, but 7.5 is tempting to the point. But I'd take Jacksonville. We'll see my picture right. Jared will laugh at me probably, but that's okay. And we got a good, and we'll do that more. But anyways, that's the Browns. But now for Jared Watson.
Yeah.
Bum 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 bum. The Buckeyes are back.
What was that?
I don't even like the fucking Buckeyes, and the Buckeyes are back. That was like my impression of Hang on Sloopy. Was that terrible? It's all right.
Oh, I wasn't tracking. I did not. Wow, it didn't resonate.
That's fine. Look, Jared's got to get some coffee in him, and I clearly can't sing and have rhythm on microphone.
We'll work on it. We'll work on it after the show.
Pass. Buckeyes are back. They're playing Nebraska at noon. The big noon show, which actually I'm starting to really like. I know it sucked, Philip. Leave me alone. Buckeyes are back.
Thank you.
It was awful. Buckeyes are back. I'm not a Buckeye fan. I shouldn't know that song. But I lived in Columbus forever. So let me ask you before we break down this team. Yep. I think this is an easy team to break down. I've been listening to podcasts. I've been reading through rundowns on different shows and everything else. Mr. Buckeye, what do you think? 2020 Buckeyes, a little late, but better late than never, right?
And really focused. Focused. Coach Day is not wasting any time. I mean, I think this team is ready to come in and clean the floor, basically, walk away 8-0 and get ready for the college football playoffs. That's where I stand with Ohio State right now. We talked about some turnover on the defensive side of the ball. I'm not going to stress over that stuff. I've learned over the years to not come out with a strong opinion either way, because a lot of times these kids come out and they come out of nowhere and you're like, wait, and all of a sudden they're on your radar. There's a reason why Ohio State recruits as well as they do. And part of that is it allows me as a fan to go, I'm not worried about it. A couple years ago, it was stressful when we were talking about that linebacker core, which was probably the worst in the entire. But that again, though, That didn't last long. The very next season, the team. So there are going to be some questions defensively, but it's not something I'm going to stress about. On the offensive side of the ball, you already know. There's
a two combination, and obviously Fields is very good. But I do want to say Chris Olave, I think, is going to be an absolute star, and it would not surprise me. I'm not Mr. Captain Buckeye. I think Olave, if the year's right, could be in that Heisman running. That's how good I think that kid is. Olave pops out when you watch him play. He is an absolute star. And again, the whole team is around Justin Fields. I've heard this from many people, Jared, and reading experts who follow the Buckeyes. I don't know if they're in the running because of Lawrence and ATN and Clemson, but the Buckeyes are 1A and 1B with Clemson, meaning these two teams are so good on offense that the Buckeyes are going to – it's going to be hard to keep the Buckeyes under 40.
And we can even talk about, okay, at running back, J.K. Dobbins is gone, right? Andy, that's not an issue. The Ohio State Buckeyes have not had an issue at running back with plug and play, the next man up every single time.
And Master Teague looked good last year.
Master Teague is going to be a badass, period. You saw it every time he would come in the second half of every game last season, basically. There's no drop-off. There's no drop-off.
And they got that transfer, Trey Sermon, from Oklahoma.
There you go.
So they have look, offense. Look, let's just do this quickly. Fields is going to be in the Heisman running.
Yeah.
Fields looks motivated. Day is a very smart coach. I don't see any negative there. I just told you about Chris Olave. The other big wide receiver gets a lot of banter is this guy, Garrett Wilson. Mm-hmm. He has been labeled. I mean, Buck Nuts, who Dave, for people who don't follow, Dave Biddle's a good follow for Buckeye stuff. From reading The Athletic, all these guys are labeling this guy, Garrett Wilson, will be the next big superstar. They are excited about him. He's going to be in the slot. So for people who want to know the new dude, that's the guy I've been hearing. And you know, it's interesting. OSU recently hasn't been tight end heavy. Everybody loves this Luke Farrell, and they think tight ends are stacked this year. I mean, stacked. So, you know, the only other question, it's not even a question. Right tackle may be a little shaky, but I don't even think it's shaky. Again, I'm going to repeat this. Keeping the Buckeyes under 40 is going to be challenging. I really mean it, Jared. I'm serious.
I know.
I mean, Jared, I'm serious. Keeping the Buckeyes under 40 is going to be challenging. That's how talented they are. Now, to the flip side of the ball, Chase Young's gone.
Right.
Cornerbacks are gone. The cornerbacks, I think we'll go there first. I think that's easier. Everyone's high on Wade and Banks. And Banks played last year. Banks stood out. Wade's good. The bigger thing here is the safeties, Marcus Hooker and Proctor. You know, I remember watching Proctor play. Proctor's not even starting. They think this guy Hooker's going to be starting. I think the secondary for the Buckeyes is going to be like, no big deal. Next guy, they're going to be flying around. They have started developing cornerback. It's very annoying as a Boilermaker fan. They are so talented in the secondary. It's like, they'll be fine. I think these defensive ends, Zach Harrison gets talked about a lot. He's the next 5-star recruit that's going to be playing. Cooper is not as flashy, whatever else. But, you know, Jared, when you have senior depth in linebacker, you hear these people's names in cornerback. I agree with you. I think everything will be fine. The only weakness, and this is from Ryan Day's mouth and experts, is up the middle tackle on defense. That is the only question. That's it. I mean, if that's your only question going into the year, I mean, what the fuck?
I think I'll take it.
I mean, look, this year, we'll have to see. We'll break it down after the Nebraska game. Ohio State's giving up 26. I would take every one of those giveaway points and love it. And I don't think Nebraska's terrible. I just think that much about Ohio State. But here's the bigger thing about this team, too, in this season. It just feels like already, even before the ball's kicked off, Bama, Clemson, Ohio State, and then that fourth team will show its way up. But even more importantly, it's already to me, Ohio State, Clemson. You can feel that game coming down.
Yeah, I don't normally like counting my chickens or acting like it's just an automatic given. I understand that they've got to step onto the football field every Saturday. I understand that they have to go out there and prove it, and that they can't mail it in. They can't have was it Virginia Tech a few years ago?
Yeah.
They can't have, although that worked out still. Nonetheless, the point being, they can't take anyone for granted. At the same time, this feels like as much of a just gimme season as I've felt in a very long time for Ohio State, walking out onto the field and just destroying. Because if that secondary is as good as they are supposed to be, you're not only talking about offensive points, you're talking about takeaways and even more offensive points. And I mean, it just doesn't seem fair right now. It doesn't seem fair. And do not forget, the Buckeyes are going to put up 100 against that team up north.
I mean, it's a lot of chalk. Doug Wicker, good friend of mine, great friend of the show. Larry Johnson will get those defensive tackles up to you quickly. I agree with you, Wick.
Yeah,
I'll even go a step further because of the secondary and because of the talent on the ends. It's just and you have enough experience in linebacker. I think the defensive tackle thing is a little blip on the road. Marissa McCool, who's from Minneapolis, she makes a great point, and I actually do want to talk about this quickly before we get back to the Buckeyes. I love the Gophers on Saturday. They are actually a home dog, +3 with a returning quarterback, returning star wide receiver, stud, and they came off a great year. I love the Gophers on Saturday night. Love them against Michigan. Love them. I actually think Minnesota has a chance of winning the West. I really, really do.
Okay.
I really do. Wisconsin's got this big, flashy quarterback who everybody's high on, but I do love when you have one of the best. I mean, all Big Ten wide receiver, second all-team quarterback coming back, and Fleck. I think Minnesota's ready to roll. I think Minnesota's going to be tough to beat. And I'll give my 2-cent Purdue opinion that will drop the ratings here in a second. Rondale Moore's very good, but it sucks that Brahms got COVID and he can't coach this Saturday against Iowa. I just wish he was there. Purdue has got the talent and the speed. It stinks because you wish they could put it all together more with Rondale Moore. Rondale Moore's a pro, but Purdue's sadly still a year away. It sucks. But if you get quick predictions, I mean, is there any debate? It's Ohio State. And by the way, Penn State lost their best running back, Brown, for the year. He might come back later. So Penn State's dinged. Michigan, I don't believe the Joe Milton hype. I just don't. I don't think he's as good as people say.
What is that? What have they done to show you anything?
Michigan State's in transition. Rutgers is Rutgers. I think Ohio State, folks, easy. I think you're going to see Clemson-type spreads. Clemson's a 46-point favorite against Syracuse this weekend. 4-6. 4-6. You're going to see those kind of lines for Ohio State.
That's dirty.
4
That's dirty.
6 against Syracuse. That is nasty. And by the way, Clemson last week, real quickly on Clemson, they played Georgia Tech in Atlanta. Final score, for people who didn't see it, 73-7. Not close. It was almost at 50 points at halftime. That's the kind of stuff. That is the one thing I've noticed about college football and the pros. Because of COVID, if you don't have your shit together, you just don't lose. You get embarrassed. I love Wicker. Wicker's a great sense of humor. To be fair, Syracuse is coming off
Liberty.
What has happened to the Donovan McNabb? What has happened to the McPherson days of the? Oh my gosh! I'm sure Jim Brown is angry. My gosh, what has happened to once mighty Syracuse? Terrible. Anyways,
Reyes, rest in peace.
Yeah, real quickly back on the Buckeyes. I can't state this enough. It has been a weird year, as we all know. We won't even get into that again. I have loved college football. I always do, and I've been enjoying it. It's great to see on your scoreboard lineup Purdue versus Iowa, Nebraska, Ohio State, Minnesota playing at home again, and in the big jug against Michigan. It's just good to see that. Tonight's Friday, we're doing a show on Friday. Tonight's Wisconsin, Illinois. It's good to see it. It's good to see it.
There's a hole. There's a hole in our football hearts when the Big Ten isn't playing.
It's just weird. And by the way, even though I'm not a diehard by far, as you can tell, it's gonna be nice too to see Oregon and USC and all this. We need all these things back. it's felt light.
Yeah, just do it safely. Take care of yourselves and be careful and all that good stuff.
Yes, all that good stuff. But yes, all that to be said.
Especially as we're coming into the winter and things are starting to heat up.
Unfortunately. Before you ask me my final thoughts, I want to wrap up on this tonight. I know people don't give a fuck about baseball, and I could see it by the ratings. I will say the World Series is very good, and it's a great study of high rolling Dodgers with all their money, and the Marlins I think are the only team. I know the Marlins have less, but Tampa Bay is in the bottom 2 or 3 in payroll. It is a fascinating series. It has been good baseball. It's been very competitive. It's good to have some fans there. It's 1-1 right now. I will be watching tonight. And I'll tell you right now, I will be into the World Series. For people who want to know, I would watch it. I think it's worth your time. It's been a very, very good World Series 2 games in. I've enjoyed it.
I've peeked in. I peeked in, which for me right now is saying a lot.
It is.
I've peeked in, and I've never expressed this, but I don't know whether this is okay or not. I love Mookie Betts' play.
Oh, he's good. That was a bad trade. The Red Sox are finally getting punished for a bad trade.
Defensively is
wonderful.
Something else to watch on the field.
He is worth every dime and nickel. Every dime and nickel. And by the way, for people out there wondering, is Lindor going to the Dodgers? Corey Seager's playing out of his shoes right now. I mean, he is having a playoff run. I heard them on a telecast, and I said the same thing. I'm like, look, I love Lindor, but Corey Seager, my God, you're sitting him down?
Yeah.
He is playing unbelievable. Anyways, it's a great series. It comes down to one thing. The Dodgers have no starting pitching outside of Kershaw and Buehler in his tight pants, and that's it. Everything else in that team, though, they can hit the hell out of the ball. And it'd be fun to see Kevin Cash win, right? As a former Indians, sidekick of Tito. Be fun to see him win. By the way, Yandy Diaz playing well is annoying. I'm happy for him, but it's annoying. Jake Bauer's, sipping coffee somewhere.
I don't want to talk about it. Hey, you can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Cleveland and Beyond, on Twitter @CLE and Beyond.
Did that trade work out? No.
Shoot us an email, andyandjared@gmail.com, andyandjarid@gmail.com. We are brought to you by Waiting for Next Year. Check them out, original Cleveland sports reporting at waitingfornextyear.com. Check out the website, clevelandandbeyond.net. We're going to have to, that's going to be updated really soon. So you know what? Yes. Don't even bother checking it out right now. We'll tell you when to check it out. Maybe in about a month.
Go to Facebook. Facebook's fun.
We are soon to be officially a part of Evergreen Podcasts.
Yes.
Andy, final thoughts.
Doug Wickert and I are University of Toledo alums, also fraternity brothers. I cannot wait for the Rockets. I have no idea how they're going to do, but I always support the Rockets. Love Toledo. I was excited. I'm not going to lie. I'm on sports all the time. When I saw the slate, I'm like, holy shit, the MAC's playing. So it's good to see that coming out. I'm glad to see the MAC is back. I'm excited about that. Again, I was great to see the slate of games this week in college football. It's my favorite sport by far. And again, the Baker Mayfield machine is back. The quotes, the banter, the talk has been on full go. For people who don't like it, I apologize. But it's full go back. And thank you to Marissa McCool, Doug Wickert, Philip Cords. All you guys are great. We love all the comments. Check us out on Sunday, and Holly Wetzel and I on Wednesday. Best Fridays in football today. By the way, Coach Urban Meyer talks about why he took the Ohio State job in this podcast. It was an interesting answer. You'll have to tune in to listen to it. I can't tell you here. So we need the clicks. Click on it. Just click on it. If you like me, just click on it. Click on this too. Click on it.
Oh, God, Andy, enough with the desperation. He's Andy Billman. I'm Jared Watson. Oh, come on, Baker.
Come on, Baker. We got this. You got opportunities. Boiler up.
Talk again soon.
Keep those hot guys.
We better be coming back here and doing a Victory Monday show.
Victory Sunday night.
Oh, yeah, I'm not doing anything. Yeah. Ignore me. Again, another day where I'm not awake. Weird.
Can the Buckeyes score 70? I think they can.
Ooh. Yeah, but I don't know that they might.
I don't think it's gonna be this week, but I can see a Georgia Tech Clemson score coming by.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.